up, y'all? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. I am so glad you are chilling with us today. So I have a really great person here today who is going to drop a lot of knowledge. And as you guys know, I go around this amazing planet finding the best humans on it so I can come on here with them to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. So today I found Maureen Ross Gemme, and I hope I said that right. She is the CEO of Emerge Leadership Academy. She's a coach and a podcaster of Emerge, Evolve, Lead. She has overcome and really stepped over and have overcome recovery in her own life, and she now helps others do the same. So I am super glad she is here. Maureen, did I say your name right? Is it Gem?
You did a great job.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm like, is it Jemmy? Is it Gem? What is this?
Just Gem. I say like in precious stones, just
Yes.
Gem.
Oh, I love that. I love it. So thank you for being here, Maureen. I think, the kind of work that you're doing is so important, right? And so one of the things that attracted me to you and to your story is what you've overcome in life, right? And I love that you didn't just overcome and keep moving. You actually overcame, and now you are building something that helps others in recovery and in leadership. And I thought that that was so important. So I'm going to let you know a little bit about this amazing audience you're speaking to. It is about 60% women, about 40% men, but there lots of them are business owners, leaders. A lot of them are transitioning into ownership of businesses. So I think you're speaking to the right audience. And I wanted to start off by just letting them know a little bit more about you. So who are you, Maureen? Tell us about you.
Okay, thank you so much for having me on. First, I want to say that I just love the name of your podcast, Straight Talk with No Sugar Added, because too often we get a lot of that fluff. And I'm also 2 weeks off of sugar right now.
You're in the right place.
So I'm in the right place. Yeah. So yeah, I do have my own business. It's called Emerge Leadership Academy. I do a lot of leadership training. So I have been traveling around New England for years now, working with groups and teams of people to really understand their personality style. So I consider myself a personality expert in everything from Myers-Briggs and the Enneagram and everything DISC. I mostly train in everything DISC because I'm an authorized partner with them. And I hope we get a chance to talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah,
I think
talk about whatever you want.
Your listeners will be really interested to self-identify their personality and know what their real strengths are and why some people in the office just bug the crap out of them. Because, if we can get past
for me,
that,
Maureen.
right? So I also do have my own podcast. It's called Emerge, Evolve, Lead. And I have a coaching program as well. I created my coaching program once all pandemic hit and all my 70 classes on the books canceled for that year. I created an online program, and I decided I was going to work with people in recovery who were ready to step up in their career, because we learned so many as recovering addicts and alcoholics, we learned so many leadership skills in recovery that can apply easily in life. But what I found is actually that 80 to 90% of my clients in my coaching program are not in quote recovery, or not addicts or alcoholics, but they also need the tools that I train so that they can step up in their careers and in life, because it's so important, especially now, right? With all of the mental health challenges that this country that people are having within the country, to be able to deal with life better, to deal with relationships better, and to actually make an impact at work.
Yeah.
So
wow. That's good though. That's really, really good. And I never thought of that. That is very true. When you're going through recovery, you do have to gain some skills to keep yourself accountable, to keep yourself moving forward, to keep yourself from, maybe falling back, all of that kind of stuff. So I never thought how beautifully that can translate into leadership. I love that you pointed that out. That is powerful, because I think that also now gives somebody and anybody who's listening this feeling of, wait a second, I do have tools. Because one of the things that we struggle with, right, is the unforgiveness of ourselves. So when
Indeed.
we go through stuff like that, we don't forgive ourselves, and then we get imposter syndrome, so we don't think we're good enough. And so you saying that, I think, can empower people, even just that piece, right? Can empower someone to realize that they can go beyond that recovery phase. That's beautiful.
Oh, yeah. And the thing about that, there's so many skills, right? When I have a class of, say, 15 different leaders, especially when they're from different companies, when they're all, from different companies, they come in, I say, all right, I break them into groups. Stand up here at the flip chart, and your little group decide think of the best boss you ever had and what are all the qualities there. The other group does like the worst boss that they ever had and what are all those characteristics and qualities. And the characteristics that everybody puts down on the best boss are things that we do, that we learn in recovery, or that we learn in leadership if you ever get to get that kind of training. Excuse me. And that is like honesty, integrity,
Mm,
dependability,
mm,
reliability, self reflection. They coach, they care, right? They have empathetic listening. They are there for you and they listen. And even if they don't follow your advice in whatever it is that you were given your opinion on, when you feel heard, you're still going to follow them no matter
yeah.
what their decision is. So it becomes a real, and that listening is so important in
It is.
leadership. And that's, I think, what we gain when we're in recovery. At first, we're just trying to figure out who we are, right?
Mhm, mhm,
We
mhm.
learn to listen and then we're ready to give back. So I say, first, develop yourself and then you can develop others.
Yeah. So take me a little bit through your journey, because you're here for a reason, right? I really believe that a lot of our struggles and things we've gone through, when we've overcome, I feel like it is no longer really our story, but a story we can use for others, right? So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about your story and what you've overcome.
Yeah. And way back, in the day, my parents had 6 kids in 8.5 years. I'm
Wow.
number 3. Yeah. That's called Irish Catholic.
Right.
So, and so I was raised in this little tight knit group. I was one of the pack, so to speak, and I was told what to do and when to do it and how to do it, when to sleep and what attitude to have and not to have. And so I didn't really know who I was. I was kind of told
Mm,
who I was growing up. And that's the case with almost everybody. We all have a story, right? We all have been through traumas in our growing up. Some of us
right,
much worse than others. I will
right.
say I've heard some incredible stories of people who have overcome. I had a relatively happy childhood. Our house though did burn down when I was 11 years old, and that was a huge trauma in my family. And my dad became an alcoholic. And although he was a very mild mannered, kind of drunk, he was still emotionally absent. And there were codependent things that happened. And we had the cogs and the dysfunctional family going on in my teenage years. So our job is to break away as teenagers, right?
Mhm,
And break
mhm.
away I did. And the time I grew up was all about sex, drugs, and rock and roll. So I fit right. I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to
Right.
be a leader. I wanted to be one of the pack. That's what I was used to. And I did do that. And
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
just took whatever anybody gave me. I didn't want to feel my feelings. I wanted to escape. And I got into a really dark place, really dark. I barely graduated high school, but I did. I immediately started working in a bar. The drinking age was 18 back then. And I
Mm,
just dove into experimenting with as much how to get high and different ways of being high and trying to have a good time, right? But I wasn't okay if I didn't have a man in my life. I wasn't
mhm,
okay if my boss didn't like me. I mean, I was looking for approval from everyone,
mhm,
and I was a very, very angry teenager. I just wanted to have a good time, and then when I wasn't high or drunk, I was angry. So it was
mm.
just a horrible dichotomy of pain that I was going through. I tried a bunch of different things like different guys, different jobs, different places
Mhm.
to live. Nothing was fixing me. I
Mhm.
did do a geographical cure and I moved to Texas for 4 years. I lived there for 4 years, San Antonio and then Austin. And finally, I hit my bottom. And I did reach out and I got the help that I needed. I
Oh,
was
it's good.
constantly running away from who I was and the chaos I was creating in my life, but I also knew I had a lot more potential. So I did get the help I needed. I got into recovery. I got into a 12-step program and I had to change everything about my life. So
Yeah.
so I had this major transformation in my 20s where I did change all my friends. I changed the places I hung out. I changed the way I thought. And I moved back to Connecticut. I met my husband. We were both clean and sober for about a year when we got together. And then we just recently celebrated our 34th wedding anniversary.
That's awesome.
We have a child who's 32 now. I say a child because she was a she and now is transing. So I don't know that they're, how to refer sometimes. So I'm
Right.
learning the new pronouns. But they are married and they have given me 4 beautiful grandchildren.
Aw,
But over
that's
that
great.
time, I want to just tell you one more thing. Over that time, I had a 30-year corporate career. Okay, so I have learned how to build relationships, advance, in a company. It was constant personal growth in the background and learning how to really have a good time in life without
Mhm.
using
Mhm.
substances and
Mhm.
feeling all my feelings and stuff. So that's kind of where I am today.
So talk to me a little bit about that, that rock bottom moment, right? Because sometimes I think people beat themselves up because they think they've hit a rock bottom moment and then they go back, and then they're like, maybe that's not my rock bottom. So talk to me about your rock bottom. What was that moment that you said, okay, yep, I need help?
It's different for everybody, Nina,
Yeah,
right? Because we have I'm going to kind of sidestep your question a little bit because I think it's important for people to realize that we all have a pain body that
right,
we develop when we're like from the age of 0 to 7, we develop this pain body. And what that means is it's just that's when we start to accumulate different pain in our life. And if you can't handle the pain, we do things to escape, to cope,
right. Yep,
right?
yep.
And if we're not taught how to cope with pain, we will cope in unscrupulous ways or ways that
Yeah.
are socially acceptable.
And they
Um,
soothe us, right?
Right, right. So it
Yeah,
could be anything. Healthy coping is let's go down by the river and just listen to the water running and do a little meditation and
right.
or have a cup of tea and just breathe, call a friend, go for a walk. But those are, wonderful healthy ways. And if we learn those, that's great. But there's also shopping and, sex
Food.
and gambling and
Yeah,
food and drinking and
yeah.
drugging and smoking and all kinds of things. So anyways, my bottom came in. um, I had been with a guy in San Antonio, and we were boyfriend and girlfriend for about a year and a half. And we were both working at the same company, a wholesale picture frame supply company. And we both were in San Antonio, and he was the manager. I was the customer service manager. It was a small organization. It was a wholesale. So we had like 10 staff. And then they moved us to Austin. And once we got to Austin, he said, "We're not living together. You're getting your own place. I'm getting my own place." And very shortly after we got there, they transferred him to Phoenix. So he was done with me. He didn't want
Right,
me anymore. And I immediately got a promotion to manager. So I'm 24 years old. I'm feeling the pain of a breakup. I'm now the manager of 6 men who are working, all of them are older than me. Some of them are married. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You know what I'm
right.
saying? I'm kind of doing both jobs, manager and customer service manager. I was
This
so
is a,
stressed
a
out.
moment of was I'm sorry to interrupt you, but was this still a moment of you using? You were still
Yep,
actively
I was
okay,
actively using.
okay.
And so but now I was alone. I was in Austin. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what bars to go to, right? So I sort of thought it's not okay to drink alone, but I couldn't handle it. So I would bring home either a jug of wine or a couple of 6 packs of beer every night and drink by myself. And when I couldn't
Wow.
stand the
Wow.
loneliness anymore, I would drive to San Antonio about an hour and a half away, and I would drink with my friends down there. And one weekend, I just had a really, really bad episode of drinking and drugging in San Antonio. And I woke up at 11 o'clock on a Monday morning in San Antonio, or I came to, I should say. And I knew I was supposed to be opening the branch an hour and a half away. And I got in the car and I raced all the way to work, and I did open the branch, but it was like, that's not cool. You know, it was
Right.
afternoon by the time I got there, and it was clear how sick I was. I couldn't even work. And I didn't. I went home and I was like sick for 2 days, and I
Mm-hmm.
realized I had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I did talk to somebody about it, and they had me talk to their husband, who was a recovering alcoholic, and he told me about AA. I also knew because my own father had been in the program, and my mom had gone to Al-Anon. So it was really an easy choice. Not easy, but here's the thing: I knew too much. I knew it wasn't going to get better. I
Right.
knew that
Right.
if I
Right.
was an alcoholic, it was only going to get worse. And I was in so much pain and I was so lonely. And when I went to my first meeting, I saw like 10 couple, people hugging everybody else in the room. There was like 50 to 70 people in that room, and all these people are just hugging. And I thought to myself, wow, if I could walk into a room and have 10 people hug me, would that be just the most amazing thing? Like, I can even get, verklempt when I think
Mhm.
about
Right.
how moving it
Because it's
is.
what you were longing for so
Right.
long.
I had been in these lower vibrations of negativity and despair and hopelessness and all of this stuff. And then I walk into this vibration of love, and it's like, oh my God, it was like,
Right.
it was awakening. And I knew I wanted that. So
That's
I kept
awesome.
going. I just kept going. And that was
Good for
February
you.
3rd, 1985. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an everyday getting up and wanting to keep going, right? It's getting up, wanting
Well,
to keep
sometimes
going.
you don't
Yeah.
wanna keep going.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So a
That's
lot
what I
of
was
people
getting
go
at.
back
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not an easy thing, but there is a program of recovery. There's 12 steps, and when you work those, you do the inner work on yourself. And after about 90 days, I would say, finally, the desire to drink left me. It
Oh,
was
good.
clear every day I wanted to drink, but I just went to a meeting instead. Well, I went to work, and then I went to a meeting, but I did get another job. I stopped going to, San Antonio to drink. I started making new friends. And the good thing was I didn't have any old drinking buddies there in that area. So it was real easy for me to
Oh, good.
transition,
Yeah.
and no
That's important.
boyfriend or nothing. It was
Right.
really good. Timing was right.
The timing's right, and I love that you had to change your environment. Like, that's something I think a lot of us need to think about when we have these kind of struggles, right? Because the environment a lot of times is what triggers you. That's that trigger that makes you like not be able or fight it to be able to get over it or through it quickly, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
Triggers are
yeah,
everywhere.
triggers are
Yeah.
everywhere. Yeah,
But
for
you have
sure.
to be
And
conscious of them.
mhm.
But you know how it is, Neena, like when I don't know about you, but like I had this 30-year corporate career, and I had about 14 different jobs within that career, because
Mhm.
I always, every other year, I was changing, growing. I wanted the next level, or I wanted to learn something new, or I was just evolving. And I mean, education is one of my highest values. That's why I have an academy. That's why I teach leadership
Right,
skills,
right, right.
like, so in my personal growth, that was the next thing. And every time you change, like, for example, if you have to quit smoking, the best time to do it is when you change jobs, or you move to a new apartment or a
Yeah,
new house or something.
that's a good tip.
Make a change in the bad habit when you change something that's like a good habit. Do you know what I mean?
Kinda
Yeah.
making it your new trigger.
Well,
That's a good idea.
it's a new anchor, really,
Yeah,
an
no, yeah,
anchor in a
yeah, new
positive
anchor,
way.
that's what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
meant.
yeah.
Yeah, 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 that's good, that's a good idea. That's a really good idea. I don't think I've ever heard anybody give that tip here. That's a good one. So tell me about your academy. What are you doing at the academy? How are you helping others?
Well, so Emerge Leadership Academy is basically training. Right. So the things that I can train in almost anything, but we're talking about communication, leadership, how to develop better relationships. And it's really learning more about you so that you can be more effective either in your role as a leader or as a team member. So I do
Okay.
team building, I do all kinds of things like that. It's
Oh,
really
so
fun.
you kind of still in corporate then, in a way, in a
In a
way.
way,
Yeah.
but I'm not, but I have my own corporation,
Right.
but I'm my own boss and my own,
Yes.
taskmaster. So that makes a big difference because I'm not
Mhm,
answering to anyone. It's so
mhm.
much easier to, well, it wasn't that hard for me either in corporate. I actually loved my corporate job. I had a great, great time and a really good career, but I got to a point where I couldn't get any higher. I hit that glass
Yeah.
ceiling
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
wanted to do more training, specifically leadership training, and I wasn't getting that job that I wanted where I
Yeah.
was. So I decided to go off on my own.
Yeah.
And I met the rule of 80, which is when your age and your years of service equal to 80, you can actually leave the company and get a small pension just as if you were 60. So I
Huh.
was like, "Oh, that will pay for my mortgage, so now I can start my own business."
I didn't even know about that rule. That's cool. All right,
Yeah.
guys, you heard that, right?
Well,
That's
they
amazing.
don't have that anymore.
Oh, of
Very
course
few companies
not.
have that anymore. I
Of
just
course
happened to
not.
pick the right
That's
one.
so
Yeah.
awesome. That's great. And I love that you said you loved your corporate job and you had a good time. I feel that way too. Like I love my job so much, right? And everybody's like, oh, but don't you? I do have my own. I have my own thing. I do my own coaching, all that great stuff. But I do also love my leadership role and what I do. I do. I just love it, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes people think that it's all or nothing, right? Like you're
Oh,
supposed to just
no.
hate your corporate job and leave that corporate job. I'm like, actually, I actually like my job. I don't, I love. I don't have any problems getting up in the morning to go to work. None of that.
You know
You
what,
know.
Nina? Happiness is not found in your job or
Right.
in your bank account or in your relationship or in
Right.
your children or in your body. It is found in your mind, in your heart, in your
Right.
soul, and you
Right.
can bring it wherever you are. So it just really
Absolutely.
doesn't matter. And this is why I say, when I'm working with my clients, like you can create anything you want, but you don't have to leave your job. You can be
Right.
happy right where you are. You
Right.
just have to work through some of these emotional blocks and and change some of your belief systems about yourself
Mhm.
and do some forgiveness work. And then
Yeah. Oh yeah.
you can do whatever it is you want. Even if you have a bad boss or whatever. It's
Yep.
don't, nothing has any impact on you unless you allow it to.
That's absolutely true, and
Right.
I'm glad you touched on the forgiveness work too, because I talk a lot about that because I believe in that really wholeheartedly, right? Because I think it blocks you from a lot of things that you don't realize it's
Right.
blocking you from. So now that's your academy. Do you do coaching there as well? Is the coaching different?
The
Um,
coaching's not different. It's just sort of like I'm a I have one of those personalities, like creative personalities, and if I'm
mhm,
just doing the same thing all the time. So I love training and I also love coaching. So I have clients over here and other business clients that I do training with over there. I also speak a lot, like on these podcasts, and I
mhm,
have my own podcast. And
right.
I've also written a book. So I'm a sponsor and I'll speak at conferences about that, about all kinds of things. So I teach people about transformation, but mostly I love talking about personality types to help people
Yes.
understand who they are and
Yeah.
own their
So
authenticity.
do you have a like do people go to your site to take this personality test or something? What's going
Yeah,
on there?
I have a little quiz there. It's just like 7 or 8 questions or something on that you can answer that will help you to understand your DISC personality type. So everything DISC is a Wiley and Sons brand. Wiley and Sons is a publisher that's been around for 100 and plus
Mhm.
years, and they have an educational arm, and they work with training companies to sell their programs or to use their programs to educate people about their personality at work. So the quiz is actually find out what animal best represents your personality or your leadership style. And there's 4 of them. You might be a cross between 2 of them too. Like that's just to get you going. And then of course for $150 you can meet with me, take the full assessment. It's a 20-minute online assessment,
That's
and
awesome.
and everybody gets that when they take my classes as well. And then you can meet with me one-on-one for an hour and really dive deep into your personality. They give you like a 30-page report on
Wow.
everything that's all about you.
Yeah.
So that's what I say. So when people
That's
take my
good.
coaching program, I say, you know what? It's like investing in a master's class a master's class in any university, but
Hmm.
this one is all about you. It's
Right, right.
mastering you and your life and how to figure out how to create exactly what it is you want.
That's a super helpful tool too. It really is, because I've taken those personality tests at work and stuff like that, and it's helped me understand also my colleagues, right? So because I'm so straightforward, obviously, right? Straight talk, no sugar added, stuff like that. I've had to learn to adjust my directness with some people. And it's because when we did our personality test, we had then a meeting where we all expressed a little bit of what our numbers were. I forgot which one we took, but it was about numbers. And of course, mine definitely matched me like 100%, right? And then I realized, like, one of my colleagues who was a little bit more sensitive or needed a little bit more explanations, things like that. I realized that when that person was talking, and I said,
Right.
"Oh, okay, I have to approach this in a different way."
Right.
Yeah,
Very
because
different.
I'm very much like ABC. Okay, done. Okay, good. Let's go. Where
You're
she
very
needed, yeah,
direct,
yeah, very, very, and
clear, and
yeah,
and you want to get things done. So you are a fast-paced, more. Okay, so can I ask you a couple of questions?
sure.
All right.
Let's do it.
So are you more fast-paced and outgoing or cautious and reflective?
Definitely fast paced and outgoing.
Yeah. And so if you're listening, right, identify yourself more than 50% of the time. Are you fast-paced and outgoing or cautious and reflective? Most people know this right away. Sometimes
Hmm.
people are not sure, and they might be right on the line. Okay, the second question is, are you more questioning and skeptical or warm and accepting? When it comes to
Hmm.
meeting other people for the first time,
Oh,
do you trust them
warm and
automatically
accepting.
or do you
Yeah.
wait? Okay, so that tells me that you are, well, I'm going to explain the 4 like within 30 seconds, okay?
Yeah.
So the first one is the D. Disc is DISC, and the D stands for dominance. And these are the folks that are fast-paced and outgoing and more questioning and skeptical in nature. So they are very direct, they're super results focused, goal oriented, but they're sometimes forceful. Sometimes they really go after what they want. And this particular animal is represented by the wolf in my uh,
Assessment.
yeah, my quiz. And that way, because they're doing it for the betterment of the pack, but sometimes they'll nip at your heels if you're not getting it done fast enough.
Right.
The second one, the I, is the influencer, right? The influence is also fast paced and outgoing, but they're more warm and friendly. So you
Hmm.
have a lot of enthusiasm and they're action oriented, but they also love collaboration. They're more
Hmm.
of the people, right? They're not task people like the D's, they're more people focused. And so they love getting everyone involved and they always want to have a good time and they're super creative. So you and I, Neena, are eyes. Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's just how it goes. And then we also have all of these things within us, by the way. I want to caveat that and say we
Right.
definitely all do. All right. So the people that are warm and accepting, but also cautious and reflective, these are the S personality types. And the S's it stands for steadiness. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, the I is the dolphin leader. Okay. That's
Oh,
the
okay.
friendly,
It's my
gregarious,
favorite animal.
family oriented. Right. And the S is represented in my quiz by the Saint Bernard. They are loyal, faithful, they come to your rescue, they love people, they like collaboration, but they want stability, they want quiet. They're resource people. They don't like to say no. They accommodate you, but oftentimes they can be over accommodating, which
Mm,
means they might be slower to make decisions because they don't want to disappoint anybody. They want to
right.
please all the people all the time, which is just impossible, as you know, in this world. Okay. The last one is C. It stands for conscientiousness. And the conscientiousness person is more cautious and reflective and questioning and skeptical. So these are your engineer types, professor, researchers. They also are super organized and they like systems and processes, and they are high quality conscious, right? They double and triple check things and they want to make sure everything's perfect. They become experts because they really drill down in their craft or their topic, whatever they're good at. And so you're right. If you're an I and you need to be working with a C boss, then you
Hmm.
don't want to be going in and say, "Hey, how you doing? How was your weekend?" And
Right.
you're all bubbly. Get to the point.
Right. Right.
Check the drama at the door, and give them the facts. And that's the kind of thing
Yeah.
that's so
Yeah.
helpful when you know all the personality types.
Yeah, it is really helpful. I mean, I did it, of course, like I said, a different one, but it was super helpful. And it also, and I don't know if your assessment also does this, where it talks also about maybe some things we can work on, like some trigger things
Yeah.
or, yeah. And that was super helpful as well, because then I realized when that other personality type that was totally opposite of mine did something, I didn't have to become an emotional response about it. I realized where they were coming from. It was super helpful to do this personality.
Like, you don't have to
It's
take it
yeah,
personal.
yeah, right,
Right? And the other part of
exactly.
that is, I have a class on, it's called productive conflict,
Hmm.
what triggers you and
Hmm.
how to reframe those triggers in your mind. Then the second one is agile EQ. What
That's good.
natural mindsets are that, do you fall back on, and how can you get out of your comfort zone to expand your emotional intelligence so that you can work with more people and be more effective? And then, of course,
So
there's how
good.
to manage people, how to delegate better. So there's a whole variety of
Yeah,
things, and
that's
you can
so
find out on
good.
my website too.
You know
Yeah.
what, Maureen? This would be a great thing too for people that have larger companies. I'm thinking of I'm in the food business, right? So I am an executive chef and director of culinary operations. So I think about the food industry and how much we lack a lot of this leadership um, training that we need
Yes.
for a lot of our leaders. I'm very big on leadership training, and so I have like a team of like 15 to 20 people, and so I'm constantly training them how to be better leaders, right? But for what you're offering or doing, I was thinking, wouldn't it be great for you to do this with major corporations like a McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Like Burger King. Like, and the reason I say that is because one of the biggest things that I've hit up against my industry is when I'm hiring people and they come from these like fast food establishments, right? And I say, why are you leaving? And there's like, the management is awful,
Oh, I
right?
know.
And I'm like, why is it awful? Oh, they talk down to you, they treat you like garbage, they're maybe a year older than me, like stuff like that. I think this is something like I'm not gonna tell you what to do. I just feel like you need to package this up and send it on over to people, because I think, especially now, right, with the shortage of people wanting to go back to work, with that stuff happening, these major companies need to rethink the way they're training their employees and not just putting somebody in that place just because. You know what I'm
No,
saying?
yeah, what
Yeah.
you're talking about is like how I describe it is it's kind of a culture change,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, let's everybody get to know everyone else, then everyone understands our styles. And this is not
Hmm.
meant to pigeonhole anyone to say, oh, well, they just give them the spreadsheet because they're good at that. No, it's not meant to just do that, because we
Right.
all have to grow and expand in our roles, but we all have to do things that we don't like sometimes. But when you're putting a team together, you can, you want to have all that diversity of thinking. But also, Neena, I always remind people to remember, personality is just one type.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
There are also
Hmm.
dysfunctional personalities. There's
Hmm.
values, there's belief systems, there's
Hmm.
so much that make us up into the people that we are, experience, our culture, like all those
Right.
things that
Right.
we bring with us into the workplace. But we have such high expectations of others, thinking that, well, they should know. Well,
Right.
why should they know? You have
Right.
no idea
Exactly.
what they grew up with, none
Exactly.
whatsoever. So we have to help like younger people. We have to mentor them in their 20s, and we have
Hmm.
to
Hmm.
continue to give growth opportunities and training to all people of all levels, so that everyone can get to know each other.
Yeah.
We can't just expect our bosses to just be taskmasters. It doesn't work anymore. We have to
It
change.
doesn't work anymore. Right. Right. I mean, even going back a little bit to your story, and I know we're going a little over time, but even in your story, when you were in your 20s, you were managing an office and stuff that you didn't even know how to manage, right? How helpful would it have been, right? To
Oh yeah.
have these tools available, right? And that's what I mean. Like, I think what you're doing is fantastic, Maureen. And I'm glad that you are impacting people's lives like that. I'm glad that you started your own academy and that you're going after, helping corporations and businesses. I think it's time for them to shift their perspective and the way they're thinking, because people are not wanting to go back to work for corporations who are going to talk down to them. They're just not. And
That's
so,
right.
but if you give them the tools, not only will they be a better leader for you, but they're going to impact your team in a very good, strong way, where you're going to have now maybe less turnover. You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
I
Because,
guarantee
yeah,
you'll have higher productivity levels,
yeah,
you'll have less conflict, you'll
yep,
have less interactions with HR, you'll have
right.
lower attrition. Yeah,
Right,
and people
right, and
wanna
which
stay.
saves
They
money, and
become
it
a lot
saves
more
money.
loyal. Oh, that
Yep,
saves a company a
lot
lot
of
of money.
money,
It's
lot
for
of
sure.
money. So, thank you so much, Maureen. I love this conversation. I love talking leadership and training, and I like taking all of these amazing people who are listening through our story, because we all have one. We're human. We all
Right.
have one, and I want them to be inspired and know that they can overcome all these challenges, and they can still rise up to be the leader that they want to be. So thank you so much for being here. And before I let you go, I know that there's people listening that are like, wow, she knows exactly what I've gone through, or what I need in my life. So why don't you give us how people can reach out to you, work with you, all of that stuff?
Thank you. Well, you can reach out to me at emergeleadershipacademy.com. If you want to get on my mailing list, either take that quiz, or I have another freebie giveaway, which is 7 uncommon steps to getting a promotion at work. These are the things that
Hmm.
people don't think about. So sign up for that and get it. And you can unsubscribe anytime, but I just send out, a little newsletter every week
That's
about
good.
how to improve your life, how to be a better person, and little stories. So, anyways, that's how you can get in touch with me, and all of
What's your
all of my
website?
stuff is on the website. Yeah,
What website? You didn't tell
it's
us. There we
emergeleadershipacademy.com.
go. Thank you, Maureen. That was awesome. Thank you for being on Straight Talk No Sugar Added. I really appreciate your time. I
Thank you,
do. Thank
Nina.
you.
I appreciate you too.
Thank you. Guys, you heard it here. Isn't she awesome? Maureen is awesome. Just make sure that you go on and check her out. And also those little freebies, go on there and be on our newsletter. I mean, if anything, I know that a lot of you that I've spoken to, because you guys are an amazing community, you are always like DMing and leaving comments and all of this great stuff. So please make sure that you go on and check everything out. I do want you to be better, whatever that is, right? Being a better leader, a better person, somebody who inspires someone else. That is what we're here for. Okay. So thank you guys for being here and sharing and always doing all the amazing stuff you do. Our numbers are going up exponentially. I think we were like at 30,000 downloads this past month. I am super excited about everything you guys are doing in our lives. We love you, and we will see you soon. This is Nina Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.